Now 9:30, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Mrs. Gould.
I'm here.
Mr. Thompson.
I'm here.
Mr. Cabrera.
I'm here. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, the notice requirements have been satisfied as to the time, place, and date of holding said meeting by posting notice on the bulletin board here in Borough Hall and by mailing and emailing same to the Herald of Cape May County and the Press of Atlantic City on October 28, 2020. In the event of an emergency, your emergency exit is your back right or our front right or your front left. Couple quick announcements. This meeting is being shown live here today on the borough's YouTube page and also live on Facebook. We also have the ability for individuals, if they cannot attend here in person, to call in by using the borough's conference line. That number is 888-363-4734, and the access code is 969-902-0, followed by the pound or the hashtag sign. In the event that you watch the recorded version of this meeting, and if you have questions or you would like to make a statement or comment, you can always call our clerk or email our clerk, Trish Faketics, at clerk@wildwoodcrest.org. Okay, Madam Clerk, doesn't look like we have any ordinances, so we'll go right to resolutions.
Yes, sir. The first is authorizing the appointment of Robert Lloyd as Chief of Police.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mrs. Gould.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Oh, do it, Don.
Yes.
Next is establishing a new change fund for the construction office.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mrs. Gould.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing expenditure to purchase a 333G compact track loader for public works under National Cooperative Sourcewell.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mrs. Gould.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is canceling 2021 sewer rents in the amount of $62 for property located at 6208 New Jersey Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mrs. Gould.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing expenditure to purchase a 2022 Chevrolet Tahoe for the police department under state contract.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mrs. Gould.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing change order number 4 for 2019 Road Improvement Program, various streets, and fiscal year 2019 NJDOT Municipal Aid Program. Reconstruction of Trenton Avenue from the beach to Pacific Avenue, increasing the amount of the contract by $1,914.87.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mrs. Gould.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing negative change order number 2 for Beach Street End Public Access Improvements, Phase 1, decreasing the amount of the contract by $20,834.33.
Why did we do that?
Decrease the amount?
Yeah.
That was a final as-built quantity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mrs. Gould.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is ratifying a memorandum of agreement between the Borough of Wildwood Crest and Wildwood Crest United Independent Union from January 1, 2022 through December 31st, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mrs. Gould.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Lastly is authorizing award of professional services contract with James Rutala Associates, LLC, for planning consultant services to research and apply for grant funding for the old library project at the not to exceed sum of $10,000.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mrs. Gould.
No.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera?
Yes.
I move that all bills properly authorized as submitted be paid.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that all bills properly authorized as submitted be paid. Roll call. Mrs. Gould.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera?
Yes.
I move that all reports received from the court administrator, the chief financial officer, tax collector, chief of police, supervisor for the recreation department, construction official, emergency services coordinator for EMS and the Wildwood Crest Volunteer Fire Company chief for the month ending November 30th, 2021 be accepted as presented.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that all reports received from the court administrator, chief financial officer, tax collector, chief of police, supervisor for the recreation department, construction official, emergency services coordinator for the EMS, and the Wildwood Crest Volunteer Fire Company chief for the month ending November 30th, 2021 be accepted as presented. Roll call. Mrs. Gould.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera?
Yes.
I move that the minutes from the regularly scheduled commission meetings dated October 24th, 2021 and December 8th, 2021 be approved as presented.
Second, with correction to November.
I'm sorry?
Mine says November.
It is. It's November 24th
Okay.
as well as December 8th.
Okay,
We
second.
approve those. Okay. It's been moved and seconded that all minutes from the regularly scheduled commission meetings dated November 24th, 2021 and December 8th, 2021 be approved as presented. Roll call. Mrs. Gould.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera?
Yes. Okay, that wraps up the resolutions. We have no administrator's report. We'll move right to the civil engineer's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to read our
Is the-
end of year summary report into the record. Sorry. Thank you. We are pleased to provide our 2021 year-end summary regarding our services that we provided to the Borough of Wildwood Crest. Throughout the year, our team of professionals have strived to provide the highest level of expertise and quality services you expected when you engaged us as your municipal engineer. All the professionals at our firm have enjoyed working with the administration, governing body, your employees, and constituents. We hope we have exceeded your expectations. To better serve you, we have prepared this summary of services provided over the past year. Through December 15th of this year, our office has performed 14 reviews of planning and zoning projects, reviewed, processed, and inspected 70 street openings, reviewed, processed, and inspected 15 sanitary sewer reviews. We provided project management on 12 capital improvement projects, provided engineering and support services for 5 grant loan initiatives. We obtained grants and loans for 2 projects that totaled $600,000 with DOT Municipal Aid and NJDCA Small Cities. We have successfully managed 5 active construction projects that totaled $9 million. To date, we have effectively managed these projects, and all other projects are progressing on time and within budget. We have 7 other items here. I'm not going to read into the record here what they are in the letter. They're pretty detailed, but we just like to say we enjoyed working for the borough over the past year, and we're thankful for the opportunity to serve.
Thank you, sir. Governing body, any questions for our engineer?
No, thank you, Mark.
Public, any questions for our engineer that are in attendance here today? Anybody on the conference line have any questions for our engineer? Hearing none, we're going to move on to correspondence. Just a reminder from Atlantic City Electric, information is posted on the borough's website that if any individual needs help paying their electric bills, you can find that information on the borough's website at wildwoodcrest.org. Okay, so also under correspondence, we have today our DEP coastal engineer Bill Dixon, and also with the Army Corps of Engineers to do a presentation on what I'll refer to as the new Dune, but it's really the Army Corps and the DEP Dune that we've been talking about, contiguous Dune from North Wildwood down to Lower Township. And there's been some questions, and we're at a position now, or a point now, where the Wildwood Crest is ready to execute the necessary agreement to get this project moving forward. We had asked them to come here today to do a presentation to the public, but also recorded. There's a lot of folks that still don't understand all the details. It's a moving target. It's been a while since a formal public presentation's been made. That being said, Bill, I'll turn it over to you. I'm assuming our IT, we're ready to go here, Eric and Brian, with the display.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council, for giving us the opportunity to come speak with you. My name is Bill Dixon. I'm the Director of the Division of Coastal Engineering for the state of New Jersey under the DEP. Also with me today is Eric Rourke. He's the Project Manager for the Army Corps of Engineers. And Chris Constantino, he's the Project Manager for me within DEP. So we're going to kind of do this presentation jointly between the three of us. So we're going to go through this, and hopefully we're going to answer a lot of questions as we go through this. And then we'll certainly answer any questions you or the public have after. Go ahead. So this, you know, for us in the Corps, it was life before Sandy and now life after Sandy. And so since Sandy, we have constructed every coastal storm risk management project on the Atlantic coast of New Jersey has been completed, except for this project. This project was still under study at that time. The Sandy supplemental bill enabled us to complete this study, and it also enabled us to move forward to get to initial construction, which is where we're at today. This project is scheduled to be funded with Sandy federal funds, but it is also going to be cost shared with the state of New Jersey, and I'll get into that in more detail. So basically that map shows we have a lot of federal projects that span from Raritan Bay all the way to Delaware Bay. But as you can see, before Sandy, less than 50% of the coast of New Jersey had a project in place. Post Sandy, like I said, this is the last remaining project on the Atlantic coast of New Jersey to be constructed. So the bottom line is the main purpose of this project is to reduce damages to businesses, homes, and infrastructure on this barrier island. And it includes 4 towns: North Wildwood, Wildwood Crest, and Lower Township. The whole purpose of this project is to reduce damages while maintaining public access and public use. I'm going to let Eric explain this slide in more detail.
All right, thank you, Bill. So as Bill mentioned, when Sandy hit, this project was still under study. One of the things the Army Corps does is we do a detailed study of all of our projects to look at various alternatives, various options, and then we have to justify the project based off of the economics and what the benefits are provided to the community. One of the things we've done in the study is we took a look at a hypothetical storm. If Sandy had hit just south of this project area, so that level of storm just south of this project area, so you'd be at where the greatest damage would be, and just along the ocean front. So we didn't, for this particular graph, we didn't look at all your infrastructure and some of the other damages, just those structures on the front. That storm had hit, it would be about $175 million worth of damages just along that front row. That's without our project. After the project, that same storm, it would be something less than $10 million worth of damage. Again, and that's not considering all the stuff behind that first row. So you can see, you have a decent sized beach in front, but along the whole island, the whole Wildwoods area, there would have been significant damage had Sandy happened further south. This project will address the majority of that or a large chunk of that damage. So that's what this graph is showing. So what's the purpose? This graph right here kind of demonstrates and points out what we're trying to accomplish.
Basically, this project had to have a positive cost-benefit ratio in order to get congressional authorization for this project to be built. And this project has a very large BCR, to 2.3, which is significant. We have many projects that are less than 2. So, as we already described, the scope of the project area is the barrier island and the 4 communities. It does not include the southern part of the island because there are no real structures there to protect for. So a lot of these natural areas up and down the coast, our projects are not formulated for those. This is just the milestones. The big ones is, we were understudy pre-Sandy. We got congressional authorization, post-chief's report in 2006. And then the state of New Jersey signed a project partnership agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers in 17. We've been working towards plans and specs and coordinating with all 4 communities since that time. Obviously, there's a lot of local concerns, and each municipality has actually a little different concerns. Some are similar, some are different. So, our goal here, this isn't a one and done project. This project has initial construction component, and then it has future maintenance at least for 50 years in a partnership with the federal government and the state of New Jersey. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to establish partnerships, long-term partnerships with the 4 municipalities for this project to be a success moving forward. And that's one of the reasons why we're here today, is to present you the project, answer any questions you have, address any concerns that you have, and hopefully be able to move forward with this project. So basically, we are already in the state aid agreement process where we're at right now. Once we have the state aid agreements in place, we will move forward with real estate acquisition. And just to give you a magnitude of things, we've already spent, between the federal government and the state of New Jersey, almost $5 million to date to get this project where it is today. None of that had to be cost shared with any municipality. That was federal and state funding. Okay, so project implementation, like I said, we're going to get the state aid agreements. We will move forward with real estate acquisition for this project. The state of New Jersey is going to obtain all the real estate necessary. It will mean that each municipality, for any real estate they own within the project area, that we would be, as agreeing to this project, we would be looking for the real estate to be donated for this project in the form of an easement. You would still retain the property. We would just need an easement that allows us to construct and maintain the project for its duration. We've gone through many iterations of plans that have been coordinated with the communities, and we're still, once we have the state aid agreement and all the real estate, the final plans and specs that will go out to bid will be completed, in which the municipality will be a partner in providing review and comment. Then the Army Corps of Engineers would be the contracting agency. They would run the contract, run the construction, and then once construction is complete, the Corps will turn it over to the state, and then we would basically turn it over to the municipality for operation and maintenance. Right now, it's anticipated that this project would need periodic renourishment on a 4-year cycle. All right, so the state aid agreement is we have an agreement with the federal government. We need to do an additional agreement with the municipality, have you as a partner. The agreement is financial, real estate, beach management, operations, and maintenance. Those are the main parts of it. For this initial construction, the state of New Jersey will fund 100% of the non-federal share, so there will be no municipal cost share for initial construction. Real estate, as I said before, the state of New Jersey will be acquiring all the necessary real estate, but we would be asking the municipalities to provide the real estate necessary for the municipal property. In Wildwood Crest, there is no private property on the beach, but in all the other three towns there are, and the state of New Jersey will be dealing directly with those property owners. Beach management plans. So you guys already manage and operate your beach. We want that to continue. This project is a federal project. It has to be in compliance with NEPA, which means it has to be in compliance with all federal environmental regulations. One of them being the Endangered Species Act. Living on this island, I'm sure you're aware, there's piping plovers and down south of here, and so we have to make sure we're not negatively impacting piping plovers or any other endangered species. These statutes already apply if you have endangered species in your town that's not dependent upon this project. Right now, as far as I know, there is no endangered species in the Crest, right?
That's my knowledge.
Yeah, okay. So, and we're not really doing anything with this project that would encourage them to come. So we don't anticipate that changing, but as part of the requirements, we just have to make sure that the beach operations are in compliance with the Endangered Species Act, so there's no negative impact to endangered species, that's all. But what I was getting at is if you had birds, if you had an endangered species land here today, it wouldn't matter if you have a project or not, you still have to comply with this, so that's all I'm getting at. And so you know, the operations and maintenance is gonna be very similar to what you do today. You know, you already maintain crossovers, fencing, your dune, your beach area, your trash. That's already done. The only real difference here is this project is going to make a consistent dune from North Wildwood to Lower Township with no gaps in it to basically be we want that to be a barrier from the ocean, damages from the ocean, and that to be impacted and not any structures landward. So this will eliminate all low spots so you don't have flooding or impacts behind the dune. So what that means is some of your crossovers are lower in elevation. We're gonna build a consistent dune with the crossovers that go up and over the dune. And so you already have to maintain crossovers. You will still have to do maintenance of them. It just will be slightly different than what you're already doing. The project will be fully fenced with dune, with sand fence, and any plantings that are necessary will be done by the project. There is no obligation in between jointly perform renourishment cycles that you have to bring in sand or anything to that extreme. We're not looking for any significant additional maintenance, and really kind of what you're already doing today. The state of New Jersey, we get our funding through the Shore Protection Act, and that funding came into existence with the real estate transfer tax. So we get dedicated funding of $25 million a year. Due to the real estate transfer tax, that money is prioritized for projects with the federal government, and you'll see why in a minute because of the cost sharing involved. We get more protection done by partnering with the federal government for the state of New Jersey than if we did it on our own. So for this project, it's anticipated, I'll just round it up, project is anticipated to be initial construction about $22 million. That's in addition to the approximate $5 million we've already spent to date. And the federal government will fund 65% of initial construction, and the state of New Jersey will fund the 35%. The periodic nourishment costs are a 50-50 cost share for this project. Go ahead, Chris. And right now, our current cost sharing with municipalities on renourishment is 75-25, where the state of New Jersey would pick up 75% of the non-federal share, and we would pass on or cost share 25% with the municipalities. What that means is your cost for a renourishment is 12.5 cents on the dollar. That's basically what it means. Right now, we are only asking for an agreement for initial construction. We're not asking you to commit future municipal dollars for future renourishments at this time. We would, if future renourishments would occur, we would enter into a new agreement and establish the cost sharing at that time. A significant reason why we also partner with the Army Corps of Engineers is once we build these projects, so these projects are designed to basically absorb the damage of a storm. So those damages aren't occurring to your homes, businesses, and infrastructure landward. We anticipate, that this project is going to have to be maintained over time. It's sand. We're building a buffer of sand. But when a storm does occur, we're not changing the magnitude. The storms are going to still occur, right? But when a storm does occur after a project is initially constructed, if it's what the Army Corps defines as an extraordinary storm, repairs to the project would be done at 100% federal expense. So for all the projects that we had constructed prior to Sandy, those projects were reconstructed post-Sandy at 100% federal expense. We've had that occur since I've been here, and not just with Sandy, I don't know, about 4 or 5 times, right, Chris? With different projects. So what the state views this for the state of New Jersey and our residents and municipalities is we view it as kind of somewhat like an insurance policy. If we get a major disaster, we're likely to get assistance at 100% federal expense. So you guys are obviously, you live in a coastal town, you're dealing with flood insurance, you obviously know FEMA and FEMA issues. What happens here is in a federal disaster declaration, you guys would be submitting for any damages that would occur to municipal property for FEMA. This project is not eligible for FEMA, okay? But this project is eligible for FCC&E with the Army Corps of Engineers. So the Army Corps of Engineers has a role in federal disasters, as does FEMA, and they are not the same. There is a cost share typical with FEMA, but with the Corps, there is not. Okay, I'm gonna let Chris explain this. This is just a basic slide on how a beach and dune operates and the components of a beach and dune.
Thanks, Bill. So we all live here at the beach or vacation at the beach, so I won't take a lot of time, but just shows the general parameters of the beach and dune system, which includes the offshore portion with the sandbars and the troughs, which are all part of the system and part of our design too, because the sandbars and the sand offshore help trip the wave energy and absorb the wave energy before it gets to the beach. Then the beach is the second round of, like I call it, absorption, and then the dune is the last level of the fence. So these are just the specific areas that you would see in a coastal engineering manual or a coastal geomorphology textbook. So our project is a beach and dune, or what we typically call a berm and dune. The engineering term for beach is berm in this instance on these projects. And the project was authorized and designed through what would be called a hydraulic backpassing system. So what we anticipate would happen is you would have a pump that's mounted, this is what we're envisioning right now, a pump that's mounted at the end of a crane, and that crane goes out and extends the boom over the intertidal area, and the pump sucks up, agitates the sand, and sucks it up, and then it's pumped via a pipeline to the areas that need to be filled. We're also looking at implementing possibly a truck method for portions of the project to help expedite the project and to build the parameters of the project that are further inland or closer to the boardwalk and the dune, to just work with two types of work areas at once and to expedite the work. The berm design is 6.5 feet NAVD, so we'll just say 6.5 feet above sea level. The width of the engineered berm is 75 feet wide, and then the slope of the edge of that berm down to the water in the intertidal area is on a 1:30 slope. And that's generally what we would see here on this island. That's a very flat slope, and that was designed that way specifically to mimic the conditions that are here right now, not to change the conditions. When we build the berm, and often we will build it with extra fill on front of it, so the berm width would be wider than 75 feet wide in most instances, and that would be to account for 4 years of erosion, so the 4-year replenishment cycle we brought up before. The dune itself is at 16 feet above sea level. The top of the dune will be 25 feet wide, and I'll show you some illustrations in the next couple slides. And the slopes on the back side and the front side are 5-to-1, but at crossovers they are flatter to accommodate pedestrian access and handicap access as well as vehicle access. The project basics, so we spoke about some of this before, and we have the dune and berm elevations and the widths here. The overall length of the project is about 25,000 feet from 2nd Avenue and JFK in North Wildwood down to the 2 Mile Beach U.S. Fish and Wildlife Unit border. As Bill mentioned before, this had a very good benefit to cost ratio, 2.3 to 1. So that's a very good cost benefit ratio. A lot of projects we are in the 1.2 to 1.5 range, but the pool of benefits that we're protecting and the methodology that we chose to build this project lent to having a good benefit to cost ratio.
What that also means is the higher the benefit to cost ratio, the more susceptible to damage this barrier island is. So that's what it also means.
Yep.
Too.
And these are just a couple quick illustrations of the backpassing methodology. So as I mentioned before, there would be a crane or cranes. It could be large excavators, depends on the equipment and the contractor that wins the work, that would have this submersible pump mounted at the end of the boom, and then they would use that to reach out and harvest the sand through agitation and then pumping via a slurry. This methodology is used in some areas, and here's a demonstration of one of the applications in Delaware, where they have a crane on the south side of Indian River Inlet, and they use it to bypass the inlet to the north side of Indian River Inlet and periodically nourish the north side beaches at Indian River State Park. So this is difficult to see, I apologize, but this is just a typical cross-section that we would see on our engineering plans that accompany this project and accompany the design and the feasibility study. So it shows the upland portion, so your bulkhead and landward portions are.
Chris, can you
Sure.
zoom in on the computer?
I don't think it's going to get any bigger than
This
that.
entire presentation has been sent to our public information officer and will be on our website tomorrow, maybe even today. So the whole thing will be on there, this slide.
Yeah, if we zoomed in, I don't think it would be very.
Gotcha. Sorry.
No problem. So the upland portion, so where the land and the bulkhead and everything are on the right-hand side, the ocean obviously is on the left. It shows the dune and the beach, and then the area where we're going to be harvesting the sand from, which would be in Wildwood and in Wildwood Crest. This is a typical for north of Rambler Road, where you have the more dense existing vegetated dune that's on the upland portions of the beach. And it just shows the various parameters of the slopes and everything I described before as far as the engineering elements.
Just explain to them what they can anticipate after the sand is removed, how wide the beach would be.
Yes, absolutely. So what we envision is after we harvest the sand, after we build the dune and reestablish the beach and berm in front of that, that we would have a beach width of approximately 275 feet to 475 feet wide. It'll vary based upon the conditions and the magnitude we need to dredge. It also varies based upon the alignments of the existing dune and how you have infrastructure that's already developed where things are either further seaward or further landward, and then to accommodate things around the pier and at certain types of crossovers. And then this is the same for south of Rambler Road. So the parameters of the beach width are about the same. The elements of the engineered design descriptions are the same. I circled the back beach portion here because, as you're aware, south of Rambler Road, there historically has been a stormwater runoff and aerial rain problem where you have ponding and flooding that often would last for longer periods of time. Part of the reason for that is because the back beach elevation is fairly low and close to the water table, so it has a difficult time to percolate and drain through the beach, and there's not enough sand to provide storage capacity for that water when it rains down. And I have one of the slides, but the typical elevations we're seeing around there now, after some work was done a couple of years ago, is between like 4.75 feet above sea level and 6 feet above sea level. In a lot of instances, the water table is only 18 to 24 inches below that. So if you dug down, you would hit water, especially on those upper portions of the beach. So we're adding sand up to elevation 8 on the backside to help deal and mitigate for that ponding, and to assist with keeping the established recreation area that is behind the dune right now. And the project features we brought up before: dune grass, sand fence, different styles of crossovers, and ancillary benefits to the project that weren't mentioned earlier. So we're harvesting sand from the intertidal and subtidal areas out on the offshore portion of the beach. And what this will do is it would help clear sand away from the end of the outfall pipes, which would assist with maintaining drainage of your stormwater system that is dealing with the upland portions of Wildwood Crest from, I believe, New Jersey Avenue on east. So this would help promote effective drainage, and it would reduce the need to extend outfall pipes. That's an expensive process. The further out that you go, it's more difficult for drainage to occur if you don't have heavy slopes and the appropriate type of head to get the water out of the pipes when they're in the water and underwater. So this will help keep them exposed and reduce the need or eliminate the need to extend outfall pipes. And again, to assist with mitigating the ponding on the back beach and the upper beach areas that you see in front of the dunes now. A little bit difficult to see, but these are crossover styles. So we have pedestrian crossovers. So I'm going to just go up real quick on this one, and then I won't do it for the rest, just to show you the general parameters. But this is the crest of the dune. This is the center line of the dune. This would be the beach portion. That is the upland portion closest to the homes and the development. These are the crossovers up the dune to the top of the dune and then back down the dune. So in this one is a pedestrian one. We have a 7-to-1 slope, which is flatter than the dune the dune slope that's already there. These are generally what we build in all of our projects, that slope for pedestrian style crossovers. They will be made of compacted I-5 material, which is sort of like an infield mix, gravel, combination of sand that's compacted. It's harder. It's not as hard as asphalt, but it's harder, so it's easier to walk up. It's easier to bring wagons and stuff like that up on the beach, to get the stuff over. It also allows for crossing over with Kubotas and John Deeres that you may use to transport materials and services over. And they are constructed to an element that would allow for crossing over of emergency vehicles in the event that you had an emergency and a vehicular crossover, a more well-established vehicular crossover, wasn't nearby where that incident was. So, and then this is just another pedestrian crossover, which has a different type of slope on the backside. The first one is tying into the existing crossovers north of Rambler Road. And this is what we would generally see south of Rambler Road. And everything else is pretty much the same as what I described. This is a vehicular crossover. Very similar elements to that first, the first pedestrian crossover. It's just that it's actually wider to accommodate the width of a vehicle and pedestrians crossing over at the same time. And it's also made with more I-5. It's thicker because that's the one where we know you'll be going up and over with your beach maintenance equipment more regularly. And we've proposed these at your established vehicular accesses that you have throughout the municipality right now. And then this is what we call the ADA compliant crossover. Right now there's 6 planned for this project. And generally we're going up and over to Dune the same way as we do on the south side of Rambler Road, although we do have some other design styles that we may incorporate here. But what this does is this incorporates the appropriate slopes and the appropriate pause points as you go down the slope for ADA and disability compliance. We go through an environmental assessment when we design this project. It goes through a rigorous permitting process, both on the federal end, on the state end. And the project was determined to have short-term impacts to water quality from turbidity when we're dredging the sand. There'll be minimal impacts to terrestrial habitat that's existing, and planting of grasses and stuff like that back onto the dune will help offset what has been impacted. One of the things we have to address is the biological aspects in the sand itself. So with amphipods, copepods, worms, and things along those lines. And because of how we're doing this, where we're harvesting the sand from the beach itself and using it on the beach itself and not bringing it from an offshore source, the impacts to that biota is less. We would have to have buffer zones and construction windows to deal with endangered species. We haven't had a lot of that here, so we don't anticipate there being significant concerns associated with that to disrupt the project, with possibly the exception of the northern end of North Wildwood and possibly down at Diamond Beach, but I don't envision there being anything major. Fisheries impacts were minimal because of how we're doing the work. We're not doing work offshore. The project is in compliance with environmental justice, and it's also in compliance with the Clean Air Act. When we're actually going to construction, typically these projects occur 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If a contractor says that he can do the work and meet all the contractual guidelines and do it just during daylight hours, that's a great thing. But typically what we do, what we see, and what we want everyone to anticipate is 24/7, which would include holidays. Issues with weather and equipment are often unpredictable, so that sometimes that impacts the schedule, but typically the schedules will have some float with some downtime for that type of stuff built into it. And the intent of both the Corps and our office is to build this in your off-season for obvious reasons. So we will have beach closures in and around the active construction areas. Typically they're about 1,000 feet, but that may vary based upon the type of work that we're doing here and with work in the off season, but we would coordinate if we need to grow larger or do something extraordinary with the municipality before we agreed to doing that. And there's a possibility, it's highly likely that we're gonna have multiple work areas at one time just to get the project done. What you would see on the beach, pipelines, heavy yellow equipment like excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, stuff along those lines, the cranes and the pumps. The pipe would be across the beach to go from the borrow source to the fill area. And what we obligate the contractors to do is make sure that they put ramps over each of the pipes, or the pipes at each of the crossovers. And of course, heavy equipment has some nuisances that we have to deal with. That's backup alarms and work lights at night, but they're for safety of the workers and safety of the public who may get into the area that shouldn't be in the area. And then communication. During the final preparation of the plans and specs, and then when we're actually going to construction and during construction, we have weekly progress meetings. Often the municipality We'll have a representative at the weekly progress meetings. In the past, we've done monthly partnering meetings where we would have more representatives from the municipality there to look at the global 50,000-foot level view of things and not the nuances that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. So things we tried to accomplish when we were designing this project through the comment period and the multiple iterations of plans was making sure that we met the municipality's intent for ADA compliance and being an accessible beach. So we've been working with the multiple administrations to try to make sure that we fit what you were doing and didn't have a disruption to what your plans were. The back beach areas, as we said before, backfilling the beach there to deal with the flooding. The alignment of the dune, we worked with the municipality here in Wildwood City and in North Wildwood for the alignment of the dune to make sure that it works best tying into the existing dunes as best as possible, but that also we're put in a position where it wasn't going to impact what your typical beach use was and how you maintain the beach throughout the year. And then one of the other elements that we're working on with the borough and with the Corps is the municipality, obviously we all know, has some plans to rehabilitate, reconstruct, and expand the pier and improve the pier. Some of those elements that are being considered and incorporated in the design may make the construction of this project, our project, and the maintenance of the project better or easier, and may be eligible for a credit from the Corps of Engineers. And what we're going to do is work with the borough. We have been already, and we're going to continue to work with the borough to present those elements to the Corps, seek reimbursement, and then the borough would get a credit for those improvements that are of betterment to the project. Things like
It's the beach pier, just for everyone's knowledge. It's the, 'cause
Yes.
we have a building called the Crest Pier. It's
Yes.
the so-called I'll call it the beach pier or the fishing pier.
okay. So and things like that are associated with that would be the elevation over the dune, the spacing between some of the piles to incorporate heavy equipment to go underneath. So things that would be deemed the benefit to construction, operations, and maintenance. And then existing conditions. You know, you have your beach and your dune here now. We're coming in and we're doing something that's going to be changing the face of the beach somewhat in the dune system. So we wanted to look into, just identify some of the existing conditions versus what we are proposing to kind of give you guys an idea of some of the differences. So we just got surveys done recently, but we don't have that information yet. We're supposed to be getting that soon from the contractor, but from past survey information that we had, and from current stuff that I've seen through the borough's application processes for some of the bike paths and stuff like that. Your existing street ends and bike paths are at elevation 8.5 to 12.4 throughout the municipality. Believe it or not, between the street ends and throughout much of the municipality, the dune elevations range from about 12 feet to 16.3 feet in some locations. The back beach, as I mentioned before, generally a 4.75 to 6, but there are a few areas close to the bulkhead where it's higher. Our design dune that we're bringing in there is going to be elevation 16. So what that says here is, in some locations, our dune is going to be the same height as the dune that's there now. And in some areas, it's going to increase the elevation of the existing dune by 3 to 4 feet. So, and I just had a couple of, we didn't have a view shed assessment to actually show a cross section and the changes in view, but I went through a few of the sections in town with Google Street View. They're recent, just to see what our view impacts were currently with the dunes and the vegetation that was there. And this was at Heather Road, which was one of the areas that had some of the higher dunes. Also at Lotus. Lotus had some of the higher dunes in town as well, not as high as the area up by Heather, but they were pretty high. And then once you get down towards the south end at Stanton and at Preston, the dunes are a little bit lower and the dunes are a little bit further away. So there's already some view shed impact because the dunes are further out and away than it is in some areas up north. But those dunes over the last 8 years have grown pretty significantly through efforts from Public Works and sand just blowing in there. So we are seeing the dunes increase up to about 12 or 13 in some of these areas down in the south end of town. And that was it. Questions? I know that was a little long, but we had a lot that we wanted to present to you, so.
All right, Colleen, can you hand out the tests for everybody? Make sure they're paying attention. I'll make sure everybody's still awake. Everybody awake? Oh, I'm just kidding.
We were gonna do music, a little bit of music, but I threw an elevator music and I was like, that's not gonna.
Wait, I have a question, Chris.
Sure.
In the beginning, didn't you say you would come back and revisit it every 10 years?
No, so actually, what we do is,
Wasn't it?
so the periodic nourishment is 4 years, so this project's
But
prescribed.
this is from before, the first time you came, a couple of years ago.
So we've, so.
Well, it's good that you're coming 4 years. It's probably better if you come every 2 years. to
Well,
tell you
actually,
the truth.
we survey the beaches every year. So
Okay.
Stockton University surveys the beaches for us, independent of this core project. The core, this project is authorized with annual monitoring incorporated. So we will monitor the entire project every year, as long as the funds are available. And typically, we have a good record with the Corps on these projects with not missing annual iterations. And if we do, it's one, and we have some information to supplement that if we miss a year. So we're checking on things regularly with this. And we also do storm surveys. Every time there's a coastal storm, our office goes out and measures the beach before a storm, measures the beach after the storm. If we identify something that's in between when the Corps does the surveys or Stockton does the surveys, we notify both groups and then we go out and do further investigations to see what the changes were to the beach and dune as part of the insurance policy. But we've been doing that even before the project.
David, any questions?
Chris, I do. North Wildwood.
Yes.
When you do up there at the north end there, will you be taking anything from Hereford Inlet? Because a lot of our boaters go out through that way, and that's obviously gotten to be a nightmare up there. So will you be borrowing from that as well, or just off the front beach?
So this project was authorized with the borrow area just being the beach at this time. It provided a good benefit to cost ratio. It had minimal environmental impacts. So that's the route we went with this. Hereford Inlet is not identified as the borrow area right now because of those factors, but we also have some environmental factors that may prevent dredging of that inlet with federal dollars. So, and you've probably seen in the news, but Stone Harbor has been impacted by some of that. So right now, there is not a plan to dredge Hereford Inlet as part of this project. However, we have planned to look at an alternate borrow source for this project for the future after initial construction is done in the event that there isn't sufficient sand on the beach to provide, if we have a significant disaster that we need to replenish all the municipalities and the beaches are too eroded to harvest from. So we're looking at a backup for the future. But right now, Hereford is not being borrowed with federal dollars.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone?
I think I'm good.
Commissioner Gould?
No.
Okay, so just a couple quick hitters from questions that I know I've received over the years and weeks and months. Just want to confirm, so just so everyone knows, there's 6 official ADA crossover walks. However, the rest of the street ends, as you see it today, you'll still be able to get up and down.
All 42.
All 40 of them. All 40 of them.
Yes, let me just clarify. So every street end will have all your existing access will be maintained. There's 3 types. So we have the standard pedestrian, the vehicular, and the ADA. You're gonna get 6 ADAs. All the vehiculars are gonna be maintained, and the pedestrians are gonna be, 10 feet wide?
10 feet wide, yeah.
So while they're not meant for daily traffic like a vehicular, but if you need to get a truck over there or something like that, you certainly can. So you'll be able to access any location. You can't drive over the ADAs, they're not wide enough, but the pedestrians, you'll be able to access that way too. We would just say, don't do it on a daily basis.
And we made the spacing on the fences on either side wide enough for use for the vehicles to get over, but also for public works if they need to get in with a small front end loader and scoop out accumulated sand after the winter season to get it out.
And these smaller low ground pressure Kubotas or these ATVs, you shouldn't have.
Those would be no problem.
using them at
Right.
all.
Other municipalities do that.
So the 4 beach access points for purposes of the public, it's Washington Avenue, it's Rambler, it's Heather, and Cressy Avenue.
That's
Those are
correct.
the 4 that we've identified as where we would need to get equipment over top of the new dune.
Yeah, so those things are designed where we can get heavy equipment over. Okay.
So just so everyone knows, so correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, the beach will actually get, it'll be made smaller.
That's correct.
For at the start of this project. Eventually, I think the beach will come back. But I get a lot of questions, we get a lot of questions on, when you're gonna extend the outfall lines and so forth. As a result of this project, we won't have to extend the outfall lines at least for a couple of years. So that's why you're not seeing us, waste taxpayer money by putting more outfall lines in there. We're gonna wait for this project and then we'll address it at that time.
Yeah, so what this project is doing, as we said before, is we're gonna make the dune consistent, fill all the low spots. We're gonna raise your beach berm, is gonna be higher than what you currently have on the seaward side of the dune. In the southern part of town, we're raising the back side of the dune. So those are the changes. Because we're borrowing sand, we're gonna be removing a lot of the excess sand that you have, and that will make it, and we will dig it in such a fashion that we open up each pipe, okay? But because we remove that much sand, it will be much easier for Public Works to maintain that, because there's just that much less volume of sand. To go out there now and just dig a trench, it lasts a couple tide cycles maybe before it fills back in. So this will definitely help with your maintenance of your outfalls. And beaches are dynamic. We remove the sand. We're not changing the sand, the longshore transport system, so sand will migrate back here. But then, in theory, in every 4 years, we'll be coming back to remove more sand and bringing it up to North Wildwood. So,
Or wherever else it needs to
Yeah.
be. Yeah. Yep.
We all know that's North Wildwood.
So yeah, a couple things, they had talked about the interaction of the new dune with the fishing pier, in the form of credits, when that time comes. The back beaches south of Rambler, where it tends to flood, there is an elevation aspect, raising the elevation in the back beaches, and just for purposes of anyone that's asking or wondering, that's the reason why the bike path project that we were originally looking at has been tabled, at least for now, because there's no sense putting a bike path on the beach when it's gonna be underwater often. So let's get the elevation done first, and then we'll come back and revisit the bike path. Lastly, so just so you know, this project's been going on for quite some time, and I think, when you have basically you have 3 municipalities contiguous, North Wildwood, Wildwood, and Wildwood Crest, and then you have some privately owned beaches in Lower Township south of Wildwood Crest. If you can imagine all the different residents, and you get a bunch of politicians in a room at different time with different ideas, and this is why this thing has just been going back and forth, and I think we're ready to get this move forward get the agreement signed and move forward in the new year. And the last point, I just want to confirm that I did hear there's no endangered species on the beaches of Wildwood Crest, right?
Right now.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I have one more note on that. As we raise that back beach elevation, we're gonna have to look at our bulkheads along that beach edge, because they're gonna be pretty close on some of those properties, where that elevation 8 is about where some of the bulkheads are.
Most of the bulkheads throughout the municipality are at about 9.5 or 10. We actually did look at that.
Okay.
So you will still have that freeboard, well, you'll have that difference, and that will help with this new sand being in there, not being readily blown over
Right.
into those and having an impact on those properties. And if you look at a lot of them, you have sand accumulated at the face of them now,
Right.
and that's where we had some of the 8.5 foot and some 9 foot elevations already. So we would just be tying into that, not increasing that elevation that's there.
Correct. And that's gonna leave about a foot of freeboard, 1.5 foot, and then once that starts to do that again and build, it's going right over. As is evidenced by my own hotel down there, I've had 3 feet of sand in my pool
Yeah.
due to the dune that built there.
Yeah.
However, if we're gonna have consistently across there, we started out 3 years ago, and I had probably close to 4 foot, and I now have nothing. It's actually, the dune is higher than my pool deck. But if we're only gonna leave a foot, 1.5 foot there, it's gonna create issues that it's going to pool again. That's gonna be maintained by the borough, and keep watch on that, because that's gonna go over there in a heartbeat.
So what we've seen is with these contiguous dunes, we're gonna have fence on both the back side and the front side. So we're gonna have a typical sand fence that will help with stabilizing and capturing the sand from the dune itself and from the ocean side. That extra sand that's in the back, there's gonna be some maintenance that's gonna be involved, but the volume that is available is less than the whole beach. where you have a dune that may not have as much fence now exposed just because it's gotten overwhelmed. So that is a benefit that we've seen with the dune fences and some of these larger dunes too, because they do help break the flow of sand that would maybe come from the beach, make it over the dune, and make it back into the improved portions of the property. We've also seen that some of the sand that you lost in those back areas is actually making it over to the dune and back onto the beach from west winds blowing down the street. Some of the wind tunnel effect you may get from some of the higher hotels and condos. So we do see some of that stuff as well. So, but we'll be keeping an eye on that with you and with the Corps. So.
Public, any questions on this project? Yes, sir.
Alan Gould.
Walk up to the microphone, sir,
I'm
please.
sorry.
How often does she call you sir?
56 years she's telling me what to do. Alan Gould, 8801 Seaview Avenue. You gleaned over the riparian issue, and mostly in Wildwood. How is that going to be handled? I mean, I've sat on commissions in the Atlantic City area,
So,
and it takes time.
so, as far as riparian goes, the state of New Jersey Division of Coastal Engineering has a blanket license from the Tidelands Resource Council to do work in state-owned tidelands. So I already have all the approvals I need from the Tidelands Resource Council to build and maintain these projects.
But we have some riparian grants.
So, as far as riparian grants go, the granted areas, we handle them the same as real property, tax lot and blocks. We will be hiring a special outside counsel who will be doing the necessary title research to determine ownership, and then we will be doing appraisals and making offers and going through good faith negotiations.
Good luck.
There it is. There it is.
So you're aware, this is not our first project. My office has obtained over 5,000 easements already in the state of New Jersey for these projects.
Well, I thank you for that. I sat on
We're
two.
well aware of the challenges with the real estate moving forward.
Especially that one grant that goes and encompasses all Cape May County, it seems like.
Thank you.
You know, one more question, gentlemen. That being said, how about an estimated timeline?
Right now, I think we're looking at, fall of '23
Yes. Fall of 2023.
for construction.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Public comments? Anybody on the conference line have any public?
Mr.
Yes, sir,
Medler.
Mr. Medler?
Hi, how you doing?
Fred Metler, 109 East Stanton Road, Wildwood Crest here. I think I heard you say that you're not going to go all the way to Cape May Inlet.
We are not, no.
Okay, so there's going to be an area that you're going to stop the dune. That's not going to have a dune. How do you figure if we have a storm surge, it's not going to come in that area and then work its way behind the dunes up to where the buildings and the houses are?
Okay, so this project is a storm damage reduction project. It's not a flood control project. So what that means is we're trying to reduce damages due to erosion and wave impact. That's what this main purpose of this project is. We are currently under study with the Army Corps of Engineers on what's called the New Jersey Back Bay Study, which is more geared towards flood control or reducing damages to stormwater flooding, or storm-related flooding. That is an ongoing study that we are partners with the Corps, and it does include your town. We recently had a public comment period. There is a tentatively selected plan. I can get you the access to, so you can see what those plans are. Okay.
But there still is the potential for water to come in that area?
There's the potential for water to come in on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service property, but before it even comes in the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service property, it's coming in both the inlet and the canal.
And just to, with some familiarity of the area, especially down there, you have, obviously we have the jetty on the north side of the inlet that has helped capture sand and allowed the beaches to be as wide as they are. The beach and dune system there, while the beach may not always be as wide from one time to another, the dune system is very robust there, and Fish and Wildlife has made an effort to keep most of it that way, with the exception of a few areas where they're doing environmental restoration, habitat restoration, but it's not taking away dune typically. So you have a very robust dune system down at that end that should augment and tie into our dune fairly well. And that's the intent, to work with and tie in to that dune that's there, not have a significant gap.
Okay.
Also, we have a project in Cape May City. We're just finishing up renourishing it now. You probably may have seen the dredges there. We already completed the Coast Guard base, and we're working down Wilmington Avenue. Also in North Wildwood, we have seawall, and in north of there, we have beaches and dunes in Stone Harbor and Avalon. So what I'm getting at, the likelihood, once we complete all these projects, of the new inlet forming a breach like everybody saw in Mantaloking is very reduced. So the volume of water getting into the back bays would be limited to the inlet openings. We're gonna eliminate a lot of overwash and breaches. Those potential impacts that we saw pretty widespread in Sandy, and also occurred in the 62 storm, would be much less likely to happen for the whole coast of New Jersey, once we complete all these projects.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions? Anybody in the conference line have any questions? Hearing none. Eric, Bill, and Chris, I want to thank you for your professional and informative presentation. Again, it'll be up online as far as the public is concerned. The packet that you just saw, as well as this recorded version, will be up on the borough's website for a follow-up in case anybody didn't get a chance to see the presentation here today. Gentlemen, you're welcome to go, or you're welcome to stay for the rest of the fun if you'd like. Another round of public comment as well. All right.
Run as fast
So
as you can.
thank you, Mayor, Council, and thanks to the public for letting keeping you guys up to date on what's going on.
Thanks, Bill.
Yep. And everybody have a great holiday.
Yeah, thank you.
You too.
And Happy New Year.
Okay, that brings us to our first round of what I'll refer to as general public comments. Anybody have any general public comments? Yes, sir.
Robert Lloyd, Chief of Police. Mayor Cabrera, Commissioner Gould, Commissioner Thompson. I want to, also Administrator Mann, I want to thank you for your support over the last 2 years since I took over as head of the police department. I'd also like to thank the other department heads and of course the rest of the borough staff and the public for their support over these last 2 years and over the course of my career. This commission has given me the ability to surround myself with exceptional people. My administrative staff, Captain Richard D'Amico, Lieutenant Denise Holt, and Lieutenant John Wygan, as well as my supervisors, my other officers, and my civilian staff have been amazing. This truly is an amazing place to work, the borough of Wildwood Crest, and I'm honored to be your chief of police. I want to thank you for your faith in me to continue leading this department. This police department is on an amazing path. You've assisted us in doing a lot of great things over the past few years, and I can promise you we're going to continue the forward momentum and continue working hard for this borough, the residents, and the visitors of the borough of Wildwood Crest. I'm honored, is really what I'm up here to say. Thank you very much. And again, Commissioner Gould, Commissioner Thompson, it's been a pleasure working with you. I'm going to miss the both of you. I will see you often. You know
Not
how.
while we're in a car. Pulled over. Denise, take care of that, Denise.
You know how to get in touch with me. Don't ever hesitate. And again, thank you, everybody, and I appreciate this. Thank you.
All right, well, so while we're on that subject, I would like to congratulate the chief. Many of you may not know, he scored extremely high in the FBI Academy. He just took his chief's test, came in second in the state by less than 1 point. This is the top guy. Chief, I want to congratulate you on that. I know what it took, the amount of hours to study and the work. I know what you went through, the anxiety before that test was done due to being held up from COVID.
It's been an interesting few years.
Yeah, so he was baptized early with President Trump coming to town, and then the COVID. So I got to tell you, he's really stepped up to the plate. He's had a tough haul these 4 years, and I hope it gets easier for you going forward. But congratulations, thank you.
Good. All right, first of all, Chief, congratulations. I look forward to working with you as you have in the last 4 years. I know I text you a lot. I know I email you a lot. It's all in the good and for the betterment of Wildwood Crest. Congratulations on your second place finish. My last comment is, can you please buy a razor and
No Shave November.
This is December now. No Shave November is over.
We have an additional month for Middle Township Police also.
We'll find our razors soon.
It's all good. Congratulations. All right. Moving on to any other public comments? Anybody on the conference line have any general public comments? Okay, we're going to move on to new business where there's none listed. Under old business, in talking with the commissioners elect Franco and Schiff, we've opted to keep everything under old business to carry it forward into the new year. So, Madam Clerk, if you could carry that over, I'd appreciate it. Our last round of public comments, which brings me to Mrs. Gould.
Mrs. Gould.
So
Mr. Cabrera.
I will say I will start it off by saying I've had the pleasure of working with Mrs. Gould in an administration from 2006 to 2021, which is 16 years. And my first term, 2001 to 2005, I remember riding on I think it was a Corvette in the Wildwood Baby Parade, and I was chewing gum. And she came up to me on side. She says, "Spit that gum out! Don't chew that gum!" That was my first initiation with public office, and I learned the hard way. So, and I say, Joyce, I said, you love her. So it's just sometimes she just doesn't have the filter, but I just love when she just comes out there and puts that zinger right in there. But she's also represented the borough very well. She's attended funerals. She's baked cakes, and very good baker, I might add. I'm going to miss all the lunches and all that she organizes and implements here in Wildwood Crest. I think the staff probably feels the same way as well. But she's always there representing at Wildwood Crest on a lot of the social events and the events that, that I know my last 4 years I couldn't always make it. She's a very good representative, and I always view her, even in my capacity as the current mayor, as the face of Wildwood Crest. So, thank you for that, Mrs. Gould, and I wanted to read a proclamation. This is actually a bittersweet. All right, I'll get to at the very end of this is probably the bittersweet, at least for today. All right, so whereas Joyce P. Gould hails from Chicago, but has called Wildwood Crest home for more than 50 years. Whereas Joyce P. Gould is a graduate of the University of Miami with a degree in communications. And whereas Joyce P. Gould has a wealth of experience and has served as commissioner in all three respective departments, which are public safety, public works, and revenue and finance. And whereas Joyce P. Gould has served a total of 7 terms as commissioner in the borough of Wildwood Crest, beginning in 1989 as mayor and commissioner of public safety, where she initiated the original bike path along the ocean front. And whereas Joyce P. Gould then became Commissioner of Public Works for 2 terms, starting in 1993, and she is directly responsible for securing Clean Communities funds for distributing recycle cans to residents and for the popular borough calendar. Whereas Joyce P. Gould then became Commissioner of Revenue and Finance and Deputy Mayor in 2005 and has served in that capacity till now, 2021. Whereas Joyce P. Gould has been involved in many charitable endeavors and has served as president of Cape May County Chamber of Commerce, the Greater Wildwood Chamber of Commerce, and the Cape May County League of Municipalities, and she also coordinated the borough's 100th centennial celebration. Whereas Joyce P. Gould holds the distinction of being the only female to serve as commissioner/mayor in the borough of Wildwood Crest. Now therefore, I, Don Carrera, Mayor of the Borough of Wildwood Crest, in the County of Cape May, State of New Jersey, on behalf of the governing body and all the residents of the Borough of Wildwood Crest, do hereby extend to Joyce P. Gould my sincere congratulations for this most momentous accomplishment and thank you for your years of service to Wildwood Crest, and do hereby declare December 22nd, 2021 as Joyce P. Gould Day. And furthermore, this is the good stuff, I furthermore appoint Joyce P. Gould as honorary mayor for the rest of the day.
Oh, thank you. That's a nice picture.
So as I mentioned, I've had the pleasure to serve with Mrs. Gould since 2005. This is a picture of former Mayor Green, Mrs. Gould, and myself. Alan, please don't get upset because she's hanging on me. Looks like it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. So congratulations. That's one, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Thompson.
Joyce, again, congratulations. Another picture of the current administration
That's the one
from
on
4 years ago.
the bulletin,
Correct.
right? Your newsletter, right, Brian? Thank you. I still have both these outfits too, which is unusual. This one was Diane von Furstenberg, by the way, just in case you didn't know. And it's the same pattern that's in Sex and the City when she's having the baby, when she comes in the little maternity. That's the same fabric. I said to Alan, that's the same dress. That's the same fabric. Do I get to talk now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm going to do this fast because my whole finance department is standing here. Lynn, do you feel any better? Yeah. Okay. You got just about everything that I wrote except for the 75th anniversary. We did that in 1985. That was one of the best times we ever had because all the public came forward to help. I also started the day camp, okay? And out of everything that I did, the most important was the 9/11 service. And so I would like if you would let me continue on with that, especially for next year, because it'll be exactly 20 years that we started this here. We started it in 2002, and it'll be 2022. So it'll be exactly 20 years, if you don't mind.
For the record, I have no objection to that request.
To all of you here, to Lindsay and Colleen, who are in the tax office, and Vicki, who's moving from the tax office into being the deputy borough clerk. Anna, you're in the tax office. You're so small, I can't even see you. Ronnie Harwood, you are the best of the best, and don't let anybody let you tell you that you're not, because you are. Alexa, you've had such problems with your kids and COVID and your husband. Every day it's another thing. It happens all the time. Lynn, you have to feel better. Chief, watch out for Denise, because you see, if you look on television, all these chiefs are all women now, so you never know what's going to happen. And she's good at her job. She's really good at her job. Eric, the borough couldn't run without you, because you take care of everything that we need for IT. Without Eric, we just stand there and say, okay, what do we do now? Because, which is the truth, what do we do now? Bob, in the finance, thank you. You're the only guy up there, and we appreciate what you do and how you do it. To all my friends that are here from the chamber, thank you, because I'll see you again soon in January. Sharon Stocker, been a friend for years. Love you. Mickey Bird, a friend for years. Love you. And Beverly. Fred, a new friend, but nice. Gary, you're my friend. It's all right. Kathy, a friend, but now becoming a really good friend lately. Mr. Tim in the back. Mr. Tim, crossing all those kids, working for the borough, and being Bonnie's partner for a long time. To those of you women who get breast exams, make sure you get a second opinion, because Bonnie didn't have that. And because of that, he was wrong, and she passed away. And we loved her. So any of you have something wrong, go to see another doctor. It's terribly, terribly important. Francine, what a great job you do. What a great job you do. Connie, you're the best of the best. Mark, make sure you have the Cliff Notes for Don, because nobody can understand what you write. Trish, you do a wonderful job. Ronnie, thank you for 4 years. You're getting another 4 coming up. Get a raise. You probably deserve it. I think that's really all. I have enjoyed my time. It is time for me to go. And Alan and I talked about this before the election came up, and I had a reason for running. And I got my reason, and it was okay. I did what I wanted to do. But at 78, it's really time to say goodbye to this. And I will come in at different times in different offices to see everybody. And thank you very much to all of you. Alan, because when he comes home some nights and he would see me with a glass of wine in my hand, he knew it was a bad day. But that hasn't happened in the last 16 years. I just want you to know. It was in the first 12 that happened. And the second half, thank you all. And with that, I move we adjourn.
Can I get a second?
I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, 10:50.
We have more public comments, I'm sorry. Public comments. Last round of public comments.
When is the next commissioner meeting?
January 4th.
January 4th, at the Crest Pier.
That's the
reorg.
reorganization.
Yeah,
January 19th after that.
before public comment.
Okay.
Sorry, keep going here. I think it's important that we go over this before we come to this here. Again, my name's Fred Metler, 109 East Stanton Road, Wildwood Crest. Some of you may have heard me up here. Also the chairman of the Back Bay Sunset Lake dredging project that's been going on for the last 9 years. And was kind of hoping today's presentation by these gentlemen was about the Back Bay dredging, but found out into the thing that it was about the dunes. So I just wanted to, I went back and looked at my notes over the last 9 years, and again, 9 years ago, right after Sandy, I came in here and informed the commission that I had a concern that Sunset Lake was filling in, and it continues to fill in. And it's difficult. I mean, there's a lot of red tape. We're working with a lot of different agencies, not only with our own town, but we're working with the DEP, we're working with the DOT, we're working with all these different factors, and I just want to remind everybody how important I think this town feels about Sunset Lake itself. There's been a lot of discussion going on, that there's been meetings going on about Back Bay dredging for the Intercoastal Waterway, the state channels, and things like that. But nothing has been said about Sunset Lake. There was a survey done by Hotmuch McDonald back in 2015 of the entire lake. The town paid for that. I can't imagine what this thing cost. But the one thing that they did say on page 2 is that there are parts of Sunset Lake that is unnavigable and is unsafe. And they came up with a bunch of different plans to make it navigable and safe. And I get it, it costs money. But just taking a look at what this town has spent over the last 15 years to make the Sunset Lake area a beautiful place to go. Mary, you said the other night we spent over $20,000 in Christmas lights that go along there, okay? We had how many shoreline restorations? I think at least 2 to get rid of all the rocks that used to be there and make that nice. The New Jersey Avenue project to give us a bigger walkway along Sunset Lake. The gazebo, the kayak ramp, the fishing pier, all these things that we're doing to make that like kind of our boardwalk, maybe second to the beach, but that's where we're trying to get everybody to go. All the functions that we have, the seafarers, all the food trucks, the weekly summer things that we have out there every Tuesday or Thursday or whatever. We don't do something about Sunset Lake dredging. that's all going to go away. And I'm just asking for the town support to continue, that if we do have a project coming up and there is going to be dredging being done wherever, that Sunset Lake is somehow included. All right, now, I've heard in the past that there's no place to put the dredging spoils. I love it when people say you can't do something, because that just drives me harder to find a way to make it done. This report gave 3 different scenarios on how to get rid of the dredging spoils, okay? Each one's a little bit different. Each one might cost more than the other, but all 3 would work, right? The other thing I keep hearing about is that Wildwood Crest only owns a little portion of Sunset Lake. That bigger portion is owned by Lower Township. On a Saturday or Sunday in Sunset Lake, I don't think you see any boaters or jet skiers or people on the pirate ship in Sunset Lake that are from Lower Township. It's Wildwood Crest that benefits from Sunset Lake. We have businesses, Lakeview Docks that has their business with jet skis out there. The pirate ship, as I just mentioned, is out there. Pirate ship can't go out there until the tide comes up, runs aground, right? So I think Sunset Lake should always be a Wildwood Crest project, no matter who owns it. We can get around all that kind of stuff. So as the last meeting of 2021, I'm hoping 2022 we can get moving on making this 9-year project into something that, at least in my lifetime, I could see got completed. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
Okay, any other public comments? Anybody on the conference line have any public comments? Brady, you
I just want to say to Brian in the back, because I forgot you and you're the tallest person in this room all the time, you do a wonderful job at the pier and a wonderful job as the public information officer, and thank you. I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Everybody has to go back to